Hey Daily Dosers, Chris here. Glad to be hanging out with you and welcome to our house. We are shooting this in our living room. We are taking the next 2 weeks and we're doing a little bit different of a daily dose. We just finished the book of James. Hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. And now we're doing 2 weeks on relationships and parenting. But don't worry, if you're not married and if you don't have kids, we're going to give you some basic principles for the next 2 weeks that can apply to a lot of relationships. So to do this and to make me look so much better, I get to do this with my wife. Those of you on the Vista campus, you see Amy at our services, especially Saturday night. Others of you that watch the Daily Dose, not part of North Coast, this is my gorgeous wife, Amy. We've been married for
23 years.
And it's been awesome. Not all of it's been awesome.
No.
The first year was, but the last 22 years have been pretty awesome. Now here's the problem. I love being on camera. I love doing Daily Doses. She, not so much. This is going to be a stretch, especially because she's like, you're just winging this? And I go, hold on tight for the ride. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to give you a passage that's been taken way out of context. There's Ephesians chapter 5 talks about submitting. And it's usually used against who?
Against wives.
Saying wives have to what?
Submit no matter what.
Just because they're Christians, you got to submit because you love Jesus to your husband. However, the very next verses say, but husbands, you also need to submit to your wives. But to clear up anything that you may have heard about Ephesians 5 and submitting, I want to read the verse that starts off this entire train of thought. Ephesians 5, verse 21 says this, submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. Did you catch that? Submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. This is a two-way street. So when we talk about submitting to each other, what's it mean to submit to somebody?
It means that you put the needs and interests of the other person above your own.
In this case, me. Yes. So you put my needs and interests above you.
Above my own. So that means I can't be selfish. That means I can't only think about what I want and what is best for me.
Yes. Now, before you're about to turn this off and go, oh, another church saying his wife's got to submit to him, understand this. I have to do the same thing to her. It says submit to one another out of reverence for Christ, not because you think they deserve it, not because they earned it this week. So as soon as you hear Amy say that, you go, that's incredibly unfair, especially if you're married to someone like me. Thanks, babe. Yeah. And yet I'm doing the same thing. The moment I said I do to her 23 years ago, right?
Yes.
Good. 23 years ago, after 2.5 years of dating, the moment I said I do to her, I said I don't to all of me and my selfishness and my nature, how I want things to be done, when I want things to be done. The Bible goes, whoa, 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 whoa. In the town of Ephesus, in basically a first century Las Vegas of its day, this passage comes screaming into a Greek and Roman world saying, look, women are no longer possessions. Women are no longer under you. There is a mutual submittance that happens. So it's ironic today that this passage sometimes is used against women, when in the first century, this was blatantly toward the men. Women knew what submitting to a Roman or Greek husband was all about. And it said, now that you know Christ, no more, no more. Marriage is both of us submitting, putting our needs and interests of each other ahead of our own. And so we have a little saying that we use. If you've taken one of our marriage or pre-marriage classes, hopefully you've learned this or not, you've heard it before. But we have a little saying that reminds us on how to do this. You got that?
Yeah, the saying is expectations unsaid will always go unmet.
What's that mean? Expectations unsaid always go unmet.
It means that if I feel like I'm lacking something or that you're not meeting a need that I have, that I need to be able to share that. I need to be open. I need to be honest. Even if it's hard to hear or hard to say, it's something that needs to be said.
So many times in our relationships, we go, man, my needs aren't being met here, here, here. I don't like the way they're not loving. Early on, Amy's like, you're not romantic. You're not loving me. And I'm like, what do you mean I'm not loving? I'm busting my butt doing all this stuff, trying to make ends meet. She never taught me how to love her that first year. I never taught her my expectations that first year. And that's where we realized, looking back, how we almost train wrecked this incredible marriage and just going, wow, we haven't clearly stated our expectations. If you haven't clearly stated your expectations of someone in a relationship, I promise you they're not meeting your expectations. And if you haven't clearly stated your expectations, they can't submit to you. They have no idea how to love you and put your needs and interests first. If you're not being loved emotionally, physically, socially, sexually, spiritually, stop today and ask yourself, have I stated my expectations? That's the first step to submitting to each other.